This is my first video for the year 2009, and I'm going to give you a message that I want to give it to you from the very heart of my being. Up until now, I have done many videos for you, gave you many techniques, but I have often tailored everything for you. Just wanted to give you candy bars so that you can listen to me. Not that I'm going to stop giving candy bars, but then I have to do something that I want to really do. That's something that I really want to give to you. What do I want to give it to you? I want to give it to you something that is permanent, not temporary, not a stopgap, but something that will fix humanity once and for all. And what is that? I have been talking about this light body versus the meat body. What is going to give a permanent relief for human beings is evolution. The evolution from an animal body and animal mind to a divine body and a divine mind. As long as we have the animal body of flesh and blood, which I call it a meat body, there will be problem, because the meat body is subjected to decay, old age, diseases, pain, and finally death. Humanity as a whole should prepare themselves to set this light body as their goal. There has been many saints who came here with this message. At least in India, some of them were able to get the light body. Some of them were not able to get the light body. Let me tell you that those who gain the light body are those who were devoted to Lord Shiva, the highest being, who has the ability to give you this light body. And how did he give? He gave through his own grace and mercy. And that's how I got my light body whenever I came to the earth plane. And I was so devoted to him, and I was not wishy-washy, and I was 100% devoted to him. And that is the prerequisite for everyone to do it. And I just want to mention that this was not for the yogis the only path to gain a light body. There were many paths: yoga, herbs, alchemy. All these were used to gain the light body. But all of them involved meditation. Meditation found an inherent part, whether you take herbs to turn the body into light, or whether you use alchemy or other forms of practices. One thing that is very useful for the light body is the sound Ah and Wu. The sound and Ah and Wu will give you not only omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence, but can give you the light body. But then you have to hear the sound from a divine being, a God. If the God comes and whispers this sound Ah Wu in your ears, immediately, without any lapse of time, your body will turn into light. But as long as you hear this sound through human voices, human gurus, It is not going to happen. But when is God going to come and do that? He is going to come and do that. He has done that to me, and then and I just turn my body into light. But then I agree with you that it is a rare and remote phenomenon. But we are nearing 2012, which is the end of the world. Not the end of this physical world, but the end of this consciousness of the world. And during this time, what is going to happen? Some of the people will have the ability to focus on God 100%, without any agenda, without any interest whatsoever in this world. And they will immediately be able to turn their body into light and go into another dimension. And that will be the end of their evolution. Their evolution comes to fruition at that point. But what's going to happen to the rest of the humanity, about 99.9% of the people? And that has been my concern. Again, I want to use Anu, but in a different way. That will suit humanity. And what is that way? The yogis used Anu and then had some success, and they were able to hear through the divine, and then they had full success. Now the Anu were put in very different parts of the body by the yogis to prepare the body to receive the light or to transform the cells of the body. This meditation is called a nyasa. Nyasa is putting the sound waves in different parts of the body and stay in meditation for throughout the day or even 24 hours or months together. They will put this sound on everywhere to transform the cells of the body. And it is a very, very powerful meditation, and I'm going to teach it sometime soon. But then there is another problem. How many of us are able to meditate, put these sounds all over the body for an extended period of time? And in 5 minutes we just lose all our concentration, and then the mind goes everywhere. So I have come up with a method, and that is to use science. Science now has discovered, at least in Russian scientists have done phenomenal work, which proves that through sound waves you can change other cells. You can change your DNA. One research says that the scientists were able to radiate the sounds onto a frog embryo, and the frog became a salamander. Because the sounds that were radiating were that of the salamander. So everyone has certain sound waves, every species. Now we know from yoga that Anu can give us divine consciousness, can turn us into light. So it is a matter of radiating, converting the Avu, sound modulating into some kind of a laser beam, and then inject it into the DNA, then the DNAs will change. That will give us a permanent relief, because that will turn the body into light. So the technology that we have has some promise. But how long will it take to do this, to develop this technology fully, because they have only been able to transform a frog into a salamander. This experiment has to be done on the humans. Before that we have to do it on other animals. Maybe one interesting thing is to see how a donkey could be transferred into a horse. Because that analogy makes sense, because our human body mind should be turned into the body and mind of the angel or God. Just as this donkey is transformed into a horse. This technology has promise. And the MindStain technology that I have been developing for some time would eventually focus into the DNA research. But until the technology is ready, we are going to use the sounds through meditation. That's the only way. But you definitely will have dramatic results as you use that. That's why Grace Light meditation, the 1 minute meditation, which uses the sound waves, nu, and the mind sound too, are going to do phenomenal work from this year onwards. I wish you well during this new year. Om Namah Shivaya.